Well, hello everyone. This is Fancy Nancy from FancyNancyStamps.com, and I welcome you into my studio today. Today we're going to be doing a little bit more work with our painted Christmas suite, and in particular, the Christmas to Remember bundle, because that's what I've really focused on this week. Many of you will remember that working with this bundle has a little something to do with my buying special this week. And just to help you remember, I have promised all of you that purchase with me between now and Saturday evening at 9 o'clock, I will send to you the 4 cards that I'm going to have in front of me shortly in a packet for you to make 2 each of each of the 4 designs that I am working with. One is the one we did on Tuesday, and there's 3 new ones today. All of them use that Christmas to Remember bundle, and they are beautiful. Now, I'm also going to tell you, I never hide this. Everything that I use is Stampin' Up! Material, but that doesn't mean that, for instance, my sentiments aren't treasured sentiments that I keep, that I borrow from other sets that I've kept over the years. But I have a Christmas sentiment box, and that's my favorite place to go when I'm working on Christmas cards. So you will see, I'll try to, most all of them are very, well, in fact, I know every single one that I'm using today is current, and every one of them are in the mini catalog. So there's no surprises here. I have one card in which I use a beautiful red braid ribbon that I believe it's even from last year's stash, because I can't let go of my ribbons. I love them. And so I tossed it out on this card. So just so you know, it's kind of the way I do business. I like to always be current. But I also want to show you good practice. And good practice is we're all collecting stamps, we're all collecting embellishments, and we need to use them when it's appropriate. So almost always you're going to see very current things, very current ideas, but at the same time, sometimes those little other sentiments and embellishments pop out. Excuse me. So let's get to work. Well, maybe, no, before we get to work, let me give you a little bit more information about the buying special. I have told you that if you buy between now and Saturday night at 9 o'clock, that's Pacific Daylight Time, that I am going to send to you a card kit to make 8 cards. And you're seeing the cards themselves. There's no surprises. The order that you place, if it is at least $35, you'll get these cards. Not just a simple order, but there is a minimum or qualifying order on this. If you exceed that, in fact, you hit the $50 range, I will also send you some holiday rhinestone gems, which are my favorite, and they show up on a lot of cards too. So I just want you to know that I want to reward my customers. I want to reward the people that do business with me, and at the same time, I just want to give you lots of new and fresh ideas. So with that being said, let's get to work. There we go. So these are the 3 cards we're going to be working on today, and you can see they've all used that same suite, but they all have very different looks. And so I'm going to start with this lightest green one, and I will talk you through them. They go very quickly. They're not difficult cards. They're a lot of fun. So I'm going to push this off to the side. You know, I always want to make sure that I have everything I need, and so doing a little practice one doesn't hurt anything. So what I am using here is Garden Green, and it is cut to 8.5 by 5.5. I also have a piece of Pear Pizzazz, and it's cut to 4 across by 5.25 down. I am using the beautiful painted Christmas designer series paper. You just can't get anything prettier. And this is, looks just slightly too, no, I know. It's also cut to 4 by 5.25. We're going to have a sentiment for the inside. There's a little red on it. I'm going to turn that over. And we'll come back. This is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and then I've just got some extra papers that we're going to be working on. I've already cut some of my sentiment labels. I have I think this is 3/4 by 3 7/8 to decorate the inside, and we'll just get to work and see what we can come up with. So let's start. I always, as you know, first thing I do is fold my card in half, my card base, my 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 piece of paper. I like to always use a bone folder to get a nice crisp fold. I want it to go into the envelope and not be too poofy, and just look, in general, look very, very nice. And I haven't quite got that right, so let me get this. There we go. And let's start on the inside just because it keeps things interesting. I am going to use a sentiment that says, "May this Christmas." I gotta make sure I've got all my little. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use Real Red. This one is, I think, this is also a Christmas to remember. It's the other half of the suite. I love these. I think they're really beautiful sentiments. Let's just make sure we're all lined up. Get my ink out of the way. I also, I told you I had cut this little piece of paper, and I'm going to put that across the bottom. I know I'm going to run out of tape, but I've got some extra here just in case. And make sure, yeah, that's how I want this. I know I'm going to have a little left over here, so let's just trim it off nicely. And we're going to apply it to that Pear Pizzazz. So it's going to pick up the lighter green in this designer series paper, which makes for just a nice contrast. And I'm using Stamp and Seal adhesive, which I cannot give a higher recommendation to. It is, it just is a more complete adhesive. I feel like it, my cards stay together better. And you know, after you go to all this work, the last thing you want is for them to fall apart. So, come on, sweet thing. It's right at the end, so it's making me baby it. You'll love that. All right, let's put this inside, making sure that I have a nice even border all the way around. There we go. Now with regard to my outside piece, I'm putting everything on my designer series paper, which I told you is 4 by 5 1/4. I have cut the largest label from the seasonal dies that go, again, they're the match set of dies that goes with this set. And I cut this label using a piece of the vivid red, because I wanted the bright, real red background. And this comes from our Peaceful Deer paper that was available to us when we were during celebration. And I think it just does a great job of picking up the red, but not overwhelming the great design we already have. So I'm going to put that one down. And I want it pretty much center, maybe slightly higher than center. There we go. And I'm going to have a label that says, "May this Christmas, may this be a Christmas to remember and cherish." And let's ink this up and add it. And I'm done with that one. And for now, I'm going to to just close up this ink. I'm going to apply this, and I want it to be right in the center of the label. So you can see we're getting a lot of great texture, a lot of color, which is exactly what I want. My next thing is I want to use the botanical items from the Christmas to Remember stamp set, and I am going to stamp using my Garden Green and my Pear Pizzazz because I want more of what I got. So let's do our smallest sprig with the Pear Pizzazz, which is our very lightest. It's not our lightest green that we carry in our inventory, but it's the it still remains kind of full-bodied. It's not muted, and I like that. Now, this is supposed to look hand-painted, so it's supposed to look like we just painted this, and of course it does. I mean, it's just a great, the way the stamps are designed are wonderful. And then we're going to use this bigger sprig, and I'm going to do it in the Garden Green. And the good news is that we have dies that cut out these items. And of course, you know me, I've already done that. I wanted to make sure that I was ready, but I also wanted to show you what I was doing. So I am going to take this and I'm going to add it to my design here. And I think that I'll use just a little bit of our multi-purpose glue. On both of them. Doesn't take much. And let's just add this to our picture, if you will. Let that dry. Meanwhile, I told you I had this wonderful braid, and here it is. And I am just going to tie a neat little bow. Come back. I always have a set of what I call my ribbon scissors, left over from my days of quilting. So I'm just going to play with it till I get it just kind of with the right size loops. I still might need to trim off a little more. And then I'm going to use a glue dot. Glue dots are the most wonderful things. And I'm using my take a pick tool. I love this thing too. And I will put it right there at the seam. So we have a really, and now all we have to do is to add this to the front of our card, and voila, we are done. Which is really wonderful. I just love that, because I could make a bundle of these in a very short time. And I don't know about you guys, but I've sent out a lot of Christmas cards. I'm from a very large family, and I've got to be ready. And guess what? I did get to the end. Yep, I see my red, so let's just get rid of this. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit that I am often challenged when it comes to getting things put together right, but did it on the first try. That's very exciting for me. There we go. One more, come on. All right. Again, we're going to add this to the front. We want the same amount of border all the way around. So there we are. That's card number 1 using our set. Set that one aside. Card number 2. I love this one because it's playing with some very different colors. I used the cherry cobbler, I used petal pink, and then of course back to my evening evergreen and my cherry cobbler. And that makes just for a fun card. So let's just play with this one for a minute. Again, I'm going to tell you, it's one of those that we can make many of them in a very short time and be very successful. Those are my cutouts, you know, that I'm already prepared with, because that's what I do. Well, I've been getting ready for you folks online. I have been getting ready for my Christmas magic that happens right here in my studio as well. Boy, I've been busy. Lots of cards. And I love it. I don't know, it just kind of makes me happy, so. I'll change something, I guess. All right, this is an 8.5 by 5.5 cherry cobbler. We're going to fold it in half to make our card base. Nice crisp fold with our bone folder. I am going to use petal pink on inside and out to be my next layer, and it is cut both cases to 4 by 5.25. So let's just put those 2 pieces in. Come on, baby. It's going to be one of those days all day long. There we go. Sometimes I just push too hard, and then it's total operator error, and I know it, but. So it's kind of a unique combination, this petal pink and this cherry cobbler. On the other hand, I think that's what's in this piece of designer series paper. I sat and I looked at it this morning. I thought, this is what I'm going to do. And I did play with it for a little while just to make sure I got it the way I wanted it. Okay, so we'll put this inside too, making sure we have that quarter inch around there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just set this, I think I'll put this piece down next. This is that designer series paper. Again, it's from the Painted Christmas designer series paper. I think it's gorgeous. And look at these fun colors. I mean, I could have used this as well as the other side, but, well, I was so busy using the holly that this just made the best sense for me. But I love it. I love it all. But I do admit I'm kind of a traditionalist for Christmas colors. So it's really hard when we get some of these wonderful, unique new colors, and Stampin' Up! Does such a great job of that. And it's like I can't do it because I'm so busy with what I've kind of selected. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we've got this Scalloped Rectangle. It's a stitch scalloped rectangle. It comes from the Contours dies, which I love. They're probably the best new item in our annual catalog. And I have cut a piece of paper that I believe is 2.5 by 3 3/4 that fits inside here very nicely. So let's stamp our sentiment, which is thinking of you. And we're going to use cherry cobbler, of course. towards the top. There we go, very nice. I'll set my stamp aside. I know I'm going to come back to this ink, so I'm going to put it over here for a minute. I also wanted to have holly underneath this, and so what I did was I used my evening evergreen and the holly stamp that comes from the Christmas to Remember, the botanical pieces that I've talked about, and we need 2 of these, so we're going to stamp those. I'm going to put one on the inside too, just in case I wasn't clear. And then I want to make sure that I add some holly berries, because what's the, just, you know, what more than just the pokey little leaves. But I don't want the stems to show, so I'm just going to do it like this. And I'll show you how I'm going to manage that. Again, we have dies to cut these out, makes it very simple. And so, you know, I just got red ink that's going to probably get on everything. All right, we'll work on that. All right, so I'm going to cut these out, I told you, and I have dies that come with the set. I'm set that aside because, of course, I've already done that. So let's start out with decorating our front, and I am going to put the hollies down like this, and then we'll add the berries. And I'm just going to use, no, I think I'll use my multi-purpose glue. Make it a little bit easier. And I can ink, do them all at the same time. And we'll add those. And we'll add this one. Now, I cut these berries, or I stamp these berries without stems, and so I really only need 3 berries. It's kind of like the uneven, when we're adding our gems, and they tell us that we should do an uneven number. Well, I think the same thing is true with our berries, so I'm going to do it like that, and I'm going to use a dimensional to add some interest. So if I do that, I'm going to just wait a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put it on this piece of paper, keeping everything just as simple as I can. And, whew, sticky fingers. We'll add it to the beautiful scalloped frame. We'll add, I want to add dimension to this frame, so I'm going to go ahead and put dimensionals on it as well. Just kind of what I do. And pull those off. So I was just saying that I have Christmas magic this weekend at my house. And I'm doing it a little bit different this year. This year I am creating a stamp buffet of cards. And oh, I'm having so much fun. And people will get to choose the various designs that they would like to do, because we all like different kinds of cards. So if you happen to be in the Spokane area and it's something you'd like to attend, you didn't hear about it before now, for heaven's sakes, send me put a comment in if you're watching, and I will get a hold of you, and we'll see how we can make that work for you, because I do have plenty of room. There we go. So now let's go back to the inside, and we have a piece of white that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and we are going to add a sentiment to it with the Cherry Cobbler ink. I should just leave this open. I'm going to use it so much. So let's add this. And I did enough of the hollies that we can definitely add them here as well. Back to our multi-purpose glue. Again, though, you can see that these are fun cards that are beautiful, but don't take gobs of materials or lots of time. You could really whip out a bunch of these cards. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut away the extra berry. But this time, I think I will just put this flat because I don't, when you put like gems or something that lifts up on the inside, it tends to make your card warp. And, I don't know, drives me crazy. Let's just be honest. All right, so there we are. And let's add this piece to our card. And we're going to have another one done in very short order. I think you can see why you just might want, first of all, might want the set. And by the way, the set is found on pages 16 through 19 in our mini catalog. I just didn't get that close and tight enough. There we go, there we go, there we go. All right, card number 2. We are doing great. So on pages 16 through 19 is you can see what we're using. And by the way, in the comments section, when I'm done with this video, the first thing I do is add all of the supplies I use to make these cards and any pertinent information you might need. So that, gets it going. So our next card is going to be this one. And I was working at a vintage look. I just wanted to have some fun. I love the embossing folder, the Merrily 3D embossing folder that does the music stanzas here. I just think that is so awesome. So we're going to go ahead with this one. We're going to do a couple little changes as we go along. Sometimes when I make things, I think it could have looked better this way, this way, and this way. And so we're going to make a couple of those changes. We'll keep coming at it. So this time, our card base is going to be a soft suede. It is 4 1/4 by 11, and we're going to fold it in half. As my kids at school called this a hot dog fold. And because this goes against the grain of the paper, it's really imperative that you use your bone folder. Otherwise, you will never get that clean edge. Once again, like as in the last time, I'm going to use a layer. It's the same both inside and out, so we can, I'm going to put ribbon on the one on the outside, so I'm going to hold it. But the one on the inside, we can go ahead and put it in. This is, once again, a 4 by 5 1/4, which is kind of my standard measurements when I'm making cards. When you use some of these standard measurements, you can cut a bunch of paper and just have it ready for card making. It really makes the whole process a little bit more enjoyable, and to have that paper ready. So just a little idea for you. Okay. So I'm going to hold on to this red piece of paper, and I'm going to kind of work on it. So my next thing that we're going to do is I have already taken a piece of this, it's very vanilla cardstock. It is cut 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and I've run it through the embossing, our own Stampin' embossing machine, which I love. And now I'm going to show you how I'm going to kind of mess it up a little bit, because I like to do things that make things look vintage. So I'm using my soft suede, and I'm going to get out one of our blending brushes. These blending brushes are very unique because they're very, very soft. You can see they're very thick, very pliable. And so I'm going to give you a couple little tips that might help you. I'm going to ink it up, but I'm not going to apply it directly to my paper. I am going to pounce it off. I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to pounce it off, because if I just lay it down, it's going to just leave like a circle. And I'm going to start adding, just a little bit. I just want this paper to look old. So that's what I'm doing. It's what I'm trying to achieve here. And I really want to give a little extra attention to those raised areas, because that's what makes it fun, is to see that it makes it look like it's been antiqued. There was the rage probably between 1998 and 2005 of doing a tea-stained, like a wedding dress was tea-stained. And it just turned out so pretty. Well, I kind of got a blinker there. Well, let's just keep working on it. It's just going to be part of my antiquing. Then I'm just going to take a regular old sponge, and I'm going to add more around the edges, because I really do want it to look old. And by doing this, it just kind of adds this extra I'm not quite sure how I got that little blip there, but we're just going to make that be part of our antiquing, and I think I can have some fun with that. Okay, so as you look at that, you can kind of see we're making it look kind of old, and we'll just blend some of a little extra. There we go. Make sure I know which side I want it to go, just like that, I think. All right, and then I cut another little piece from, because I'm going to add this to the inside, so I'm going to do the same thing again. It's just, again, just to add a little interest. I am a musician and a worship leader at my church, and many people who would expect nothing else but a fun card with music on it from me. Makes it a lot of fun. Okay, we almost have it. I'm kind of being a little rough with it, kind of intending to do that. I've even torn it a little bit up here, but I like that because that's part of my vintage look. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set this aside because it's going to go on this paper. Actually, I could go ahead and adhere it right now so it's all the pieces are together. And I want to be very careful because I've got these splits in the paper, and sometimes this stronger tape will try to pick it up, and I don't want that to happen. So there we go. There we go. Very nice. All right. So there was also a really great label that was part of this, the die set, the seasonal dies, that I just love these labels. And I wanted to add some interest to, when I just put the vanilla on vanilla, even though I had antiqued it, it was still not what I wanted. In fact, I'm going to show you, I want to antique up this label as well. So let me get my sponge back out. But this time I don't want it in the center. I just want it around the outside. So I'm just going to kind of add a little, just enough to make it interesting. Nice thing about a sponge like this, it really keeps it just right on the edges. So there we go. All right, I feel good about that. And now I'm going to add my sentiment, which is a joyful Christmas to you and yours. So let's go ahead. And when I did this the first time, you know, the practice one, I put my sentiment up a ways, and I'm kind of glad I did. And I'll show you in just a minute here. There we go. Still have more to do with that, so set it aside. So now I also, once again, am going to do the holly leaves and the berries. And I'm going to tell you, there's no sense that I have to do it again and again. You've seen how I do it. And, however, I am, oh, there it is. I was going to say, I'm short one. No, I'm not. So let's add that to our label. And then we're going to use this other label. So let's, once again, I think I am just going to do the tips with the multi-purpose glue. There we go. And you might say, why just the tips? Well, it's going to hang off the edge, and I don't want it to cause a problem. So I'm going to do this. And I have to laugh at myself. I had not developed my system when I developed this card. So I just cut away the stems on that one. And I'm going to kind of put that right there. So, and I'm not going to use a dimensional that I did before because I've already got a lot happening here. So in terms of layers. Okay. Now, I want this to kind of stand out. So I am going to add, I'm trying to just give a little bit around the top and a little extra so that that red just adds a nice, so I'm going to do my multi-purpose glue. Oof, come back to that. And, oops. Did you hear that? Oops. I never like to get my glue spilling around. Okay. And now I am going to once again use dimensionals on this. I'll show you why in just a sec. I'm going to add some beautiful ribbon too. I'll show you my cheater way to add ribbon. I'll probably laugh. All right, so kind of towards the top third. By the time you get your little leaves, holly leaves, it takes care of it. And now I'm going to add, oh, this ribbon is part of the suite. And I am going to do what I call a poor man's bow. It takes a lot less ribbon. And I am simply going to wrap it around, and I'm going to tack it on the back. But before I do that, I'm going to tie what looks sort of like a ribbon or like a bow, but not quite. I'm not going to kid you and tell you this is a great replacement, because that wouldn't really be true. I'm going to wrap it around and just tie a single knot. And now, with using a very little amount of material, I have created a look-alike bow. Now, I'm going to trim it up nicely. This ribbon is kind of fragile, and so it really does fray a little bit when you're working it. So you have to make sure that you're being gentle. And now I'm going to just tape on the back side. And because we're using this Stamp and Seal, it's a much stronger tape than we've had in years past. And so I know that my ribbon is going to be firm. All right, so now let's go ahead and put that on the front. Isn't that pretty? Makes a really great picture. This was not going to be my Christmas card. I had kind of another one in mind, but it's starting to grab me, and it could be my Christmas card. There we go. So, let's work on the inside. We haven't got much to do. I want to decorate my piece of vanilla, very vanilla. Once again, as I said before, this is 3 7/8 across, 5 1/8 down. And we're going to start by adding this little score of music across the bottom as if it was a piece of our designer series paper. You know, we do that a lot for interest. Whew. Making sure I'm getting it right. There we go. And we'll trim off the excess down the sides. There we go. We have a sentiment we want to put in here, and that sentiment is, I love this sentiment, may the sparkle of the season warm your heart and home. It's just a sweet, very sweet sentiment. And so I'll put it right here. I'm using cherry cobbler ink. And then I'm going to add another one of our hollies across the music just to make it in keeping with the front. So let's add some multi-purpose glue. The beauty in Stampin' Up! Is that we have a variety of tools that we can use, and I love that. I don't feel like the only thing I need to use is, for instance, stamp and seal. I can use a lot of different things and really create the effect that I'm seeking. So now we can add this. Again, it's just going to be our multi-purpose glue. There we go. Cap it. Close the ink before I get myself into trouble. And let's add this to the inside. Whew. Guys, we have made 3 cards in about 45 minutes. That is amazing from start to finish. And I didn't skip steps. Like if I was making a bunch of these, I would make all the holly leaves all at the same time. So really I would just have it in front of me like a buffet and I would just start assembling. But we did it from start to finish, and I think that's pretty impressive. Okay, and I think this card is, because it's antiqued, I want to add some of our holiday gems. And it just adds a little something, makes me feel happy. There we go. So, if you were to participate in my buying special, which is to buy a $35 order, you would receive the makings all cut up and ready for you to go. I mean, I do the embossing, the dry embossing. If it requires a die cut, in this case, the die cut is prepared for you. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, this really is a way to go. And you have 4 cards. This is the one from the other day, which is our 3D pine cone that I just love so much. There it is. So these are the 4 cards that are available to you, 2 each of a design. Now I can't say goodbye to you today without telling you that Painted Christmas has also been the format or the set that I have built my entire online card club with this month. They're different designs than these. They are very beautiful. Once again, people who participate in my club receive a card kit where they can make 8 cards, 4 each, no, say that wrong, 2 each of 4 different designs. In addition, they get about $20 to $22 worth of beautiful Stampin' Up! Current merchandise that you will use with your cards. Everything is provided for you except the ink and the stamps. I explained to you what I'm using, and if you wish to purchase those, I give that to you at an 18% discount. Also, you might already have the stamps or ones that you can substitute, and by golly, that's what you should do. I mean, as I said in the beginning of this video, we are all collectors. We're all doing this together. We're putting together the collection of stamps that allow us to make the most beautiful things. And that's what I'm here for, is not to get in the way of that, but to enhance that. This card class is $36 a month. It ships on the last Friday of the month. I offer the first card club, or your first one, free, because I want you to try it. I want you to see the quality of what I send you, that you can see that it is very good and that it is worthy of your participation in my club. My club is a subscription service, and there's a link to that in my comment section too, which I will add shortly as soon as we are done with this video. I think I have a lot to offer you as a independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Most importantly, I just find this fun. This is a hobby of mine, and I like to share it with everybody. So please feel free to participate in any little step along the way. It's Christmas magic time, and these buying specials will continue. There'll be a different one every 2 weeks until Christmas, and I want you to participate and have fun. So I'm back with you next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. I come to you live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4, and I will have more things to show you. So get ready and be with me at 4 next Tuesday. Until then, happy stamping.